Welcome back my DIY nomads. Today I wanted to talk about urban stealth camping. Parking in any sort of built up area, whether it's a city or a town or anything like that, can be actually really tricky, a lot trickier than you think, especially when you're in a van, because obviously a van is much bigger than a car and usually all parking spaces are mainly sized for cars. The other tricky side of it is that a lot of parking in cities is usually multi-storey, which cancels out a lot of areas for van parking because obviously you can't fit inside of that due to height restrictions and also the fact that they just don't want vans in there even if you can fit them in there. So today I wanted to give you guys some of the tips that I've learnt on the road, especially a lot on this tour, and hopefully it'll help you find a good stealth camping spot in your city or urban environment. I better get going because there's a parking warden coming and I still haven't paid for the parking here, so I'll catch you guys in a second.
For you.
So I'm currently in London. Looking out the window behind me, you wouldn't believe that I am, but I'm actually sort of more in like near Wimbledon, and I found this really nice park and it's been really cheap to park up, so I thought I would just come here and enjoy the bit of peace and quiet you can get in this little bit of forest behind me. Firstly, I'm just going to talk about the obvious points, ones that might apply to you but aren't always there. Friends and contacts can be a really useful thing in this situation. You may have some friends or contacts living in the city or area that you're staying. They might not be able to accommodate you, or you might just want to stay in your van and they might have parking out front, or they might be able to give you a parking permit to park on their road or near their road. This is just a really quick, easy, basic tip. On top of that, you can also use websites like Parkopedia or other sort of free parking websites. Just do a bit of research on Google and you can find yourself spots. Some people are even renting out their car parking spots on websites, and you can buy a parking spot for a night, which can be useful and obviously a lot cheaper than buying like an Airbnb or a hotel for the night. So also consider that. Some of the good old reliable spots are your usual signs that you find that will say like parking fees apply 8 AM to 6 PM or 8:30 AM to 6:30 PM. Those sort of signs are great because it means that if you're out during the day and you're doing stuff during the day, you can come back to these spots or find these spots, and then you've basically got free parking for the whole night. That's a great way to get some free parking. Other really useful spots are stuff like large supermarkets, 24-hour supermarkets, or even large petrol stations that have parking and everything like that. You can usually get away with parking there overnight, and if you do get moved on, you know, that's just a bit of bad luck, but sometimes you can get away with it. I've even heard that in the US, at places like Walmart, they open up their car parks so that camper vans and stuff like that can park in their car parks. Although I've also heard that now it's becoming so popular to do this that they're trying to cut down on it a little bit. Parking right in a city centre is going to be very tricky. They usually try and keep these areas free of any parking really. They just usually have loading bays because they don't want cars clogging up the street. So these sort of central business districts or the very, very populated areas, you probably won't get a chance to find anywhere to park. So this is where you're going to have to push out a little bit further and maybe find a quieter sort of suburban street or something a few streets off. And then your best bet at that point is always take around with you some sort of small version of transport like a scooter or a bicycle or even a longboard. And then you can park a little bit further away and still get into the centre very quickly and easily. The other great advantage about parking on these quieter suburban streets is usually the parking's cheaper, if not free sometimes. You do get a rare occasion. Where we parked in Newcastle on this tour, we were actually parking there, I think it was 50p per hour, and that was only between 8 and 6. So it was a very, very cheap way to park. The only disadvantage is that we were parking underneath a railway bridge, so sort of up until quite late at night and quite early in the morning there were trains going overhead which were quite loud. But you can find little gems, and this place was, I would say it was a pretty good choice because it was very, very, very close to the city centre. Also guys, if you are watching this and you haven't already, please subscribe to my channel, it really does help out. And also if you've got some more stealth camping tips, please leave them below because they really are helpful, and you guys love dropping some awesome tips, especially with the condensation video with the cat litter one. That was a pretty cool one, and a lot of you guys mentioned it, so it must be a pretty legit tip. So thanks all for that. What do you do if someone comes knocking on your van and asks you to move? My best advice is to just accept it, be friendly with the person, apologise, move on, maybe even ask them where it is to park. You can just mention that you've been driving a long time and you really need to rest and you don't want to risk driving any further. They might even be sympathetic towards that and allow you to stay there for the night. I think the best advice is to just not be aggressive about it, but just take your wins with your losses. Another point to consider is how recognisable your camper van is. Has it got loads of like funky stickers on it and it's very recognisable as a camper van? Has it got like some weird sort of like colour scheme going on? This might make your van stick out more and more obvious to people that it could be a camper van. The only time it works in your favour is if it's sort of like business signwriting, and then people are more sort of susceptible to thinking that it is just a works van rather than a camper van. But these are little things that you could think about when doing your conversion, because obviously they're going to draw more attention. Are you going to spend more time in the city or more time outside of the city? So once you're actually hunkered down for the night, some tips to sort of keep you more unnoticed, more off the grid, would be to try and eliminate as much of your light from the inside of the camper van to getting to the outside. So that means make sure you've got blinds to the windows, make sure all the glass up front is covered, and this will stop drawing any extra attention. Another one is obviously noise. If you're creating a lot of noise in the van, people are going to obviously be more aware that you are inside of there. One of the advantages of having a swivel seat up front or easy access to the front is that you could use your front doors as a way to get in and out of your van quieter, because opening your sliding door, that's a lot of noise and you have to slam it closed, and it's a big open gap, so you lose a lot of heat that you might have like kept inside of your camper van. By going through the front door, you create less noise, it closes quieter, and it's a smaller gap, so less heat's going to get out as well. So just consider that as a potential way to get in and out of your van at night if you need to go outside and brush your teeth, or go to the toilet, or just do anything outside that you were going to do before. The other advantage of parking in a supermarket car park or a petrol station, as I mentioned earlier, is that obviously you can park there during the day and keep your car parking costs down while it's sort of like in the height of the day and it's going to be the most expensive, and that's when all the parking fees are generally enforced. Now, another question to ask is whether it's even illegal to camp on the side of the road or in a lay-by. Now really, in the UK this is sort of a grey area, because it's up to the permission of the landowner, and that is down to the local authority when you're talking about parking on a road. So it's more down to really the attitude of the local authority. You might get moved on, they might not like you in that area. What would be quite nice to know is from all my viewers outside of the UK, what are the sort of rules there where you live? Because obviously, you know, if I go on a Eurotrip, it'd be quite cool to know sort of parking in like maybe like Germany or France. Maybe even if I go to Australia and rent a camper van, it'd be quite cool to know what your laws are there. So please leave a comment below on that as well, because I'm very interested. But in the UK, I would say it's a bit of a grey area, but it isn't necessarily illegal.